Arab leaders in the Middle East declaring that airstrikes in the war-torn country of Yemen will continue until the rebels are rooted out for good. The Saudi-led effort began earlier this week after Iranian-backed Houthi rebels, who already controlled the capital, started advancing south near a strategic waterway. Here's a look at the countries now joining the force against those rebels. Up to 8 Arab states now involved in this effort to fight back. General Jack Keane is a retired 4-star general. He is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, former vice chief of staff of the Army, and a Fox News military analyst. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Maria.
How would you observe what's taken place in the last 24 hours in Yemen?
Well, it's pretty significant. There's a strategic shift in the balance of power in the Middle East taking place, certainly by Iran and also by the radical Islamists. And the Saudis and others in the region have had great concern about this from 2006 in Lebanon to 2009 when we began disengaging from Iraq politically, then militarily in 2011. 2012 when the Iranians propped up the Assad regime when they were losing to the moderate rebels, and now here we are in Yemen. The Saudis and others have decided to stop it right here. They have drawn a line and said no more. So this is very significant. So
what should the U.S.'s response be right now?
Well, frankly, Maria, the U.S. has contributed to this because we, as an unstated policy, began disengaging from the Middle East almost at the inception of President Obama's administration back in 2009. And one policy decision after another has really encouraged the Iranians and certainly encouraged the radical Islamists to fill a vacuum. Our security is actually threatened by this situation in Yemen because AQAP, which is the al-Qaeda affiliate who has been designed to conduct out-of-region operations against the United States and the West. They succeeded in Paris. They failed in the United States. This chaos contributes to their growth and development, and we're doing nothing to stop them.
General, a lot to talk about with you this morning, in particular Iran, as well as we approach that Tuesday deadline for the nuclear talks. So stay with us, General Jack Keane, this morning. And General, you heard Eric's report. There's all of that right now, in addition to the uncertainty around Afghanistan. I know you met with the president of Afghanistan in your own meeting last week. The president deciding to leave or extend some of our troops there, but continues to say he's pulling all the troops out of Afghanistan by the end of 2016. What went on? What did you learn from the president of Afghanistan this week?
Well, certainly, Ashraf Ghani is a transformational reform leader that we've not seen in Afghanistan since we deposed the Taliban, and Karzai has been the leader all this time. He's pro-West, pro-American, and truly wants to govern the entire nation and be politically inclusive. That's a good thing. So politically, Afghanistan is making the most progress it has ever made. However, as you pointed out, from a security situation, it is still a fragile situation at best, and we could still lose Afghanistan. We cannot pull all of our troops out after 2016 and make the same mistake that we did in Iraq. And we cannot stop funding the Afghan security forces after 2017, which makes no sense. They don't have the money themselves. They're not like Iraqis. We have to help them with that, and we should continue that at least to 2020. But we've got to keep our troops there, even though it's a small number, to be able to go after the Taliban leadership and have political leverage as a result of that after 2016.
I mean, can the president say that then, that he's going to pull everybody out by the end of 2016?
He has not changed his policy. He's permitting 5,000 more troops to stay at the end of this year into 2016. And the policy to pull all of the troops out is still there. I'm convinced Ashraf Ghani will re-engage with the president sometime later this year, I would suspect, and make a plea with him to keep those troops there post-2016. It's absolutely essential that we do this. We cannot make an arbitrary withdrawal date like we did in Iraq and just dismiss the conditions on the ground.
And of course, we all know and talk about it every day what has happened since those Iraqi forces were removed. The U.S. forces were removed from Iraq and of course, enabling ISIS to get as strong as it has. Let me ask you about this complicated situation we find ourselves in where we are talking with Iran over the nuclear ambitions. That deadline is this Tuesday. We're supposed to see a preliminary framework of a deal between Iran and America and the other 5 countries, while the fighting is going on in Yemen, where the Iranians say if the Saudi effort continues, there will be more bloodshed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the major foreign policy initiative of the administration, and that is some rapprochement with the Iranians. The nuclear discussions and potential deal is certainly the centerpiece of that. And because that is such a major initiative for the administration and for the president personally, it has trumped everything else. It has trumped our relationship with our Sunni Arab friends in the region. It has trumped our behavior in Syria, not assisting the rebels. It has trumped the fact that we waited 8 months before we assisted the Iraqis, while the Iranians began assisting them on day one when ISIS invaded Iraq in January 2014. So this initiative has clearly enabled some of the chaos and upheaval we see in the Middle East. And I'm afraid, as everyone is reporting who has insight, we're heading to a lousy deal on top of it all.
Well, do you think we'll get a deal, a framework in place by Tuesday?
I doubt if we'll have something by Tuesday. The deadline, actually, the final deadline is 30 June. So I think we may have some general framework, but without all the specifics, and then kick this can down the road, which Iran wants to do. Listen, as long as we're negotiating with Iran, nobody is ever going to conduct a military strike against them. And they also, because they were willing to negotiate, guess what we did? We rolled back some of the sanctions before we ever made a deal.
Right.
So this is all to their advantage.
Right, exactly. They'd like the sanctions lifted, obviously, as soon as possible. General, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Good talking, as always, Maria.
General Jack Keane.